And now let's move on to our second leading story. Community leaders participating at the second dialogue at with traditional and religious leaders in Uganda reiterated their commitment to uphold girls and young women's universal and inalienable human rights to access and learn at all levels of educational systems. The two-day meeting took place in Kampala from the 19th to the 20th of June, and it was under the theme Girls and Young Women's Access and Retention in Educational Systems in Africa.
Well, Jerry, despite undeniable progress in some parts of Africa, gender parity has not yet been achieved. A quick example would be 70% of girls from the poorest households in Niger and Guinea who have never been to school.
Rita Bisonauth is the coordinator of the African Union International Center for Girls and Women's Education, and she is with us now via Skype. A warm welcome to you, Rita, and let's just get into the subject. The girl-boy ratio in education in Uganda is at 40% to 60%. Why is this? Why is it increasingly difficult, rather, to close the this gender gap?
I think it's very important. This gender gap is not only in Uganda. This gender gap is, in the whole of Africa. It's the same issue everywhere. We have this gender gap. And we can see that at the primary levels, we have more girls maybe being retained in the educational system. But as soon as we reach the secondary level, we can see that the number of girls or the percentage of girls at the secondary level decrease very, very fast. And there are many reasons for this. And I would say that the main reasons are, first of all, it starts with child marriage. You know that even though in our country, even in Uganda, as in many other African countries, there is a law. You cannot get married before the age of 18. However, they do. They do because it's the cultural practice. It is the traditional practice. And unfortunately, many mothers and fathers are still continuing this practice because they feel they have to, because they feel they are pressured. They have pressure from their peers, pressure from their different families. And this is a big, big issue because as soon as you get married, you stop school, right? You are already out of school and then you get pregnant. And then you know that once you get pregnant, how difficult it is to get back in the educational system. Let us take female genital mutilation. This is still continuing despite many countries having ratified saying that FGM is no longer. But however, this is not happening. FGM is still very much there. And a girl cannot go to school for at least 3 months. 3 months she will go into the bushes. Or sometimes it takes maybe 2 or 3 years for the girl to heal. And during this meantime, the boy is going to school.
Participants at the recent meeting you held in Kampala were prompted to identify effective solutions to the issue of access to educational systems for girls. Anything more than what has been talked about over the years?
Now, I think the solutions are not at one level. It is not only because we just had a recent meeting in Uganda with traditional and cultural leaders and religious leaders. Now we have to see that the solution lies at various levels. I think we have to start either from a top-down approach or from a down-to-top approach. It is everybody at every level who has to take their responsibility. Let us start with the case of, for example, infrastructure. We have to make sure that in our schools there is enough money to build different toilets. I think this is something, so that means the budget allocated to education has to be increased to allow for this. Let us come at what the different can do. NGOs, what they can also do, they can also talk to the different governments to make sure that money is being given either for girls to go to school, because in many schools are not free or not totally free. So they don't always have the funds to go to school. So it is important that maybe that there is some sort of maybe like a mini funding, like a stipend which is given to some of the girls to go to school. Now let us come back to what traditional and cultural leaders can do. I think it is important that they also have a role to play, and their role as being the person to whom everybody refers to, and being the most important person in the community. They should be the ones to take in charge and tell the parents, tell the communities, discuss with them about the importance of going to school. What will happen to their daughter or to their niece or to their cousin if she doesn't go to school?
Rita, some food for thought there, and that's where we'll have to leave it as we have to go now. But I'd like to thank you very much for sharing with us some of the discussions that took place at the conference and some of the talk there on closing the gender gap. Thank you very much, Rita. Coordinator of the African Union International Center for Girls and Women's Education in Africa, Rita Bisunelth, speaking to us there from Kampala, Uganda. If you're just joining us, this is the morning call coming to you live here on Africanews. We have all the stories that we are bringing to you live on our website, and you can log on www.africanews.com to watch us live as well. Thank you very much for staying with us. Still to come on the program, British supermodel Naomi Campbell wants more to be done to combat racial prejudice in the fashion world. Plus, in sports, Egyptian striker Emil Wada recalled in selection after being excluded following a complaint against him for harassing a model on Instagram. This plus other stories coming up shortly after the break. Stick around. Ruth and I will be right back.